Hey, welcome back traders for some more back testing. Gonna go ahead and finish off the last week of February this time around. Now, Friday is going to be the first Friday of March. So I'm anticipating that to be a non-farm payroll Friday. So I'm actually not going to trade that day or the 29th as well. But here we are at the end of the day on the 23rd. Taking a look at the daily chart, I'm thinking we are going to be bullish, although there is a fair value gap here that we can retrace back into. I do have a projected target here. Remember, this is going to be from this swing low to this swing high, but we can also use this swing low and this swing high. And I did actually project that. And as you can see, we do have a smaller projection level here with 50% lining, or the -0.5 standard deviation lining up with this one. And we have a -1 standard deviation up there. Well, this week what I'm looking for is price to come back into this fair value gap. And then from here, I want to see some sort of a setup in order to get me long going for the highs. So Monday morning on the 26th, here's the 1 hour chart. I'm looking at this high and these lows down here. Now we've already went into that daily fair value gap, but we've created equal lows. I don't mind if we go ahead and sweep these sell side one more time, as long as we're in the upper half of this fair value gap. Taking a closer look at the 15-minute, you can see these relative lows here. Now I'm looking at this 15-minute fair value gap. We've dipped into it, but you can see all the wicks are in it, but the bodies have been respecting it. Now, since we've already went into that daily fair value gap, if we do get the respect and we get a displacement up without taking out this high on the 5-minute time frame, I could look for a long going for, I believe these highs look pretty good. So I'll mark this out as well. So 8:13, this is going to be the 5-minute chart. You can see that we've created relative lows here, dipped down into it at 8:05 into that 15-minute fair value gap, and we've currently seen displacement. If this fair value gap holds, I'm not going to go ahead and take it just yet because it is before 8:30 and 9:30. But if we come back into it and this gives me confirmation without taking out this highs, I'll enter in the very next fair value gap. After 8:30, price rallied up, took out this high. So I'm going to go out a little bit and take a look. These relative highs up there is what I'm looking at. But I don't like how we've taken the buy side here already without giving me an entry. So I'm just going to wait patiently. I'm hoping that this will create like relative highs up here or something and not take out this high just yet. I'll mark it out. Okay, I already took it out, but I'm going to mark this high out. Now, what I want to see is price retrace a little bit, maybe into this inefficiency here and give me a setup to go for these highs. But I'm going to wait because I'm thinking 9:30, we could get a drop below these lows or even go for these lows down here. So I think I'm going to just go ahead and wait for 9:30, especially on a Monday. So after 9:30, you can see that even before 9:30, we did take out this high. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of it. So I'm looking at these relative highs right here. And at 9:30, we dropped down into this inefficiency and we started displacing upwards. So this is what I'm looking at right now. It doesn't have to come back for these lows anymore. We did come back into a daily fair value gap. Price has respected this 15-minute fair value gap with a sweep of liquidity. Came back into this right here and gave us a displacement. So right now, I'm counting this as confirmation. If price does come back into an inefficiency and give us a good risk to reward, I'll be aiming for these relative highs. And maybe I'll even try to hold one for this high if I have enough of a contract size. So zooming in, I don't know if this fair value gap is going to get reached. I mean, it is quite a deep retracement, but if I have price here with my risk down here, that's actually not very much of a risk. So if price does come back there, I'll go ahead and try for an entry here, putting my risk. Now, if it does sweep this right here, I'll wait to see if we're going to take these lows and create another setup and I'll re-enter. But I'm going to go ahead and take my first shot with this fair value gap here at 9:30. So we did get a huge wick up and then price did create a fair value gap. I still have my entry here and it wicked into it. So I'm entered in 4 contracts. That's going to give me less than 1% risk. Now, I don't like how this wicked up and came all the way back down. I'm going to go ahead and take a look at 50% of this wick. I want to see price. See, I don't like how price just touched it and now it's coming back. So It is currently above my entry, but I want to see price go above 50% of this wick, use it as support, and push price up there for my first partial. Remember, that is going to be those relative highs. And I'm going to go ahead and take 2 contracts off. That's half my size. I'll see if I can hold the next one prior for this inefficiency. And then I'll see if I can hold the last one for that high. Okay, so yeah, we went ahead and got stopped out. Did not like how we just wicked up and then just used that as resistance, pushed price down to take the sell side below here. Now, if we can get another fair value gap to the upside, I'll use that fair value gap to re-enter, aiming for, well, this high. And well, actually, if it takes out this high, it should take out this high as well. So we'll aim for this high as the first partial if we do get another setup. But right now, took a loss on the day. So the next one is going to be 0.5% on the risk. A little bit before 10:30, so after sweeping these lows, we are rallying up, going above this down candle. So there is a change to the state delivery. No fair value gap yet, but just gonna keep patient, wait for a fair value gap. It may not appear because it does kind of look like it is like using this order block. Also, remember, non-farm payroll week, price does tend to be a little bit choppy. So it is 1050-ish. I can see price when it wicked down here, it's going for this fair value gap, this little inefficiency right here, using it as inversion, and it's kind of consolidating here below 50% of this wick. So usually that is kind of a sign that it's just building up pressure to go to the upside. But I'm going to keep patient, wait to see if I get it set up. I may miss this move. So it is 11:45, price dropped down once again. So you can see kind of back and forth action today, but it does look like we will be going for those relative highs soon, because it dropped down only to this order block. And you can see we have another change to state delivery here, and we have a potential fair value gap here. Just going to go ahead and mark out my risk will be here. And if this fair value gap holds, I'll have my entry up here with 0.5% risk, and I'll be aiming for this relative high as the first partial. And if I do have enough contract, I'll try to take one more up higher, but we may just stop out here because it is kind of getting close to 12. Okay, 11:53, we did go above this high. We'd rather not see this get taken before, giving us a potential entry, but it never retraced enough for our entry. So I think price is just going to go ahead and take those highs without us. Okay, we did drop down here. I have a entry right here. Going to take it with half size, and then we'll see if we can get a reversal back up here before 12:15. So unfortunately, I'm only able to take one contract. You can see if I take 2 contracts, it's going to go over that 0.5% risk. So only one contract for this trade at this entry and the risk. And let's just see how it plays out. Okay, it is 12:16. Technically, I should be done, but I kind of feel like with this right here, I want to see if this fair value gap is going to get traded above. I could move my risk up a little bit more just to kind of like reduce the risk. I think I'm going to go ahead and do that. I don't really want to get out of the trade on this time stop. I feel like we could maybe 12:30 or something get above there. So I'm gonna just bend the rules a little bit, give myself a little bit more time. I did enter before 12:15, but I'm gonna go ahead and move my risk. I'm gonna have to draw a different line. I want to keep that original. You want to always keep your initial risk, so that's going to be for your risk to reward later on. But I'm going to go ahead and put it below this right here. This is going to be the new risk, just to reduce it a little bit. Okay, so it is 12:26. It looks like we are going to go up for that buy side, but I'm going to play a little bit safer, and I'm going to start moving my risk up a little bit more now. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to look at this down candle, and I'm assuming this is going to be an order block, and I'm going to put my risk somewhere below 50% this order block, but above my entry. So somewhere like here, that I think this can work out. So this will give me a little bit better than break even. Okay, so price did come down a little bit, but you can see we do have a fair value gap. I'm watching to see if this fair value gap holds. If it comes down to break me even, so be it. But I am going to try and hold a little bit longer for this high to get taken. Remember, that is going to be those relative highs back over here. Okay, I guess I should have just taken it off at 12.15. It does come down, stops me out break even. I'm going to count this as 34.75. So kind of break even on the second trade. Went a little bit further than I should have on my time window. Maybe I should just play this safe and take it off at this high right here, but it is what it is. We're going to go ahead and move on to the next day. Yeah, now that I'm looking back on this, I probably should have taken my first partial above this high. This is going to give me 1-to-1, so that was actually a pretty good target and a conservative target. And it was only like 5 more points to get up to the high, so I shouldn't demand perfection. And yeah, but I'm not recording that. I'm recording the partial here at break even going into the next day. Going into the next day, Tuesday, February 27th, you can see that in the afternoon the market dropped and went back into that daily fair value gap once again. Now we've created relative lows and we've created relative highs. I think this is going to be the range that I want to trade in. Today, I'm going to be very disciplined. I'm not going to touch anything until one of these sell side liquidity gets taken, and I'm going to go ahead and aim for the other side. What I'm wanting to see happen first is the sell side get taken first. I want to see these get swept, and then I want to see some sort of displacement to the upside, and I'm going to be aiming for these relative highs, and then potentially holding for this high or maybe 50% of this wick. Okay, so it is 9:45. I went through 8:30 and 9 o'clock. Nothing really happened. I was just staying on the 15-minute chart. Like I said, I want to be very, very disciplined. I'm not going to do anything until one of these, one of the liquidity gets swept. So that's why I'm staying on the 15-minute. I'm going to only go down to the 5-minute if we start seeing liquidity sweep, and then I can be looking for displacement for the other side. But at 9:45, price has dropped down a lot at 9:30. Back into that daily fair value gap. So I want to see these lows get swept, and then I want to look for a reversal. But I'm not sure if it's going to happen today or if it's going to take some more time building up, because we do have a lot more off that daily fair value gap we can dig into as long as we stay in the upper half. Okay, I skipped through all of the morning action. I stayed on the 15-minute, and you can see we've just been consolidated within the morning range. You know, we never went down for these lows or for the highs. So I'm just going to go ahead and go to the next day. Now in the PM session, we could get some sort of sweep, but that is outside my time window. Let's take a look at what happened at the end of the day, and then we're going to go to the next day, Wednesday. Remember, it is not from payroll, so that Wednesday morning may be my last day this week. So looking at the end of the day, we did get a sweep down below the sell side, and we've displaced up above all this down move here. I'm sure there's going to be some inefficiencies here. Not going to be trading until the next morning, so hopefully overnight we get something. I'm looking for some kind of setup in this inefficiency for the next morning. Here we are going back on the hourly chart. Wednesday morning, 8 o'clock. You can see that price dropped down below that inefficiency that I was talking about. It went below all these sell side back into that daily fair value gap. So I'm keeping an eye out here. I want to have price stay in the upper half of this daily fair value gap. And it's okay that I dip down one more time. I'm looking at these smooth highs up here. I want to see that get taken. Even this high right here, I'm going to go ahead and mark it out. But I'm waiting patiently for a shift in the market structure or something in the lower time frame before I take a long for these highs. Here on the 15-minute, we did get some sort of a displacement after coming back down to take the sell side here. We did go above this down candle's opening price, so there is a slight change in the state of delivery. We drop back down. Now I want to see confirmation here. If I can see confirmation in this inefficiency area, then I would be willing to take a long for these highs up here. This one's irrelevant, gonna get rid of that. But let's go ahead and walk through 8:30 and 9:30. At 8:30, we did get a rally up. Now there is a potential 5-minute fair value gap here, but I'm not gonna take it because I do see these smooth lows here. Price could dip down one more time. This fair value gap is not done forming just yet. I'm gonna wait for it, and if I see confirmation creating another fair value gap, I'll take that one. But if you go back to the 15-minute, you can see that even though we've rallied up, there is no fair value gap, so no confirmation yet on the 15-minute. And in fact, that fair value gap does not form. We did get one more sweep under the sell side. Now this one right here, if we start making a change in this day delivery and then we start creating a fair value gap, I will take that one, because I'm looking at this as we took out the buy side, we took out the sell side, so now there is room to run. And I'm thinking these smooth highs up here. Here we are at 9:30. Did not make a trade yet because, as you can see, there was no bullish fair value gap. We pretty much just consolidated. There is a small SIBI right here, and we've dipped down even lower into this inefficiency. Can we take out this low? There is a possibility here. Just gonna wait a little bit longer just to see how the price develops. Okay, so price did come down to take that low, and it's still above 50% on that daily fair value gap. Now we have rallied up and created a small fair value gap. If you can zoom in, you can see that there is a small fair value gap here. We're coming into it, but we're also in this SIBI right here. So not going to take this first fair value gap, but if I do see confirmation, then yeah, I'll take the next one. Here we are at 10:35. So we did create a down candle, and now we've had another change in the state delivery, potentially creating another fair value gap. So I am going to go ahead and take this one, and I'm looking for my first partial to be about there. Kind of lines up with this inefficiency and these highs up here as well. And then zooming out, I think I'm going to try and hold it to these highs. I mean, that I know it's a little ambitious, but we'll see if we can do it. And remember, we do have that higher time frame, the relative equal highs. If you go back on the 1 hour, I'm talking about these relative equal highs right here. So if I can get enough size, I will try and hold for these relative highs. Now going back down to the 5-minute, I'm going to go ahead and use this as an entry. Now if that's only if this fair value gap remains intact. This candle is not done forming just yet, but based off of what I see, if I have an entry price here at 916.5 and with my risk down here at 887.25, that's only going to give me enough risk for one contract before I go over my 1% risk. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and just enter one contract here long, and then if price is able to go halfway between this fair value gap, I'll take another contract. And then that way the average will put me underneath that 1% risk. So that's where I'm going to go. It's a little bit more of an advanced entry, but yeah, I want to, because it's so close to that 1%, I want to try and get that if we can get down to 50% here. Okay, so that fair value gap did remain intact. Now, because there's a volume imbalance, I'm using the fair value gap from this high to the opening of this candle. So price was still at the 16.5 with the midpoint being at 13.25. So the next candle did wick down to both of those targets. So I am entered in two contract. My average price should be around 915 or so, with the risk down here at 887. Okay, it is 11 o'clock, man. I love seeing this big rally here. I definitely think I'm going to get my partial here. So we'll take one partial, and then I'm trying to hold the other partial for one of these two targets and just, you know, aggressively move my stop up 3 PD arrays of protection. Here we are at 11:25. Went ahead and took my first partial, and I'm going to move my stop to break even at least. So let's go ahead and take a look. Where should I move my stop loss here? I'm also going to count the PD array. So here's one fair value gap, here's an order block, and here is another fair value gap. So I don't really want a price to reach down into this fair value gap, although I think it may be possible. I'm just going to go ahead and put my stop at the bottom of that fair value gap. That's also going to be above my entry. Here I'm going to put it in yellow. So this is going to be my new stop loss. Now I already took one partial here, got one contract left. Okay, here we are at 12:15. It's not looking that great. Ever since taking out this high, You can see that we've pretty much just consolidated. We did have a drop back down into this fair value gap in this order block. I think I'm going to go ahead and use my time stop here at 12:15. I'm just going to go ahead and exit my last contract. The closing price here was at 950.5, so that's what I'm going to use for my back testing. I do still think price can go up there, but it could be some retracement here. It is non-farm payroll week, so it could get a little choppy. It may even retrace back down and take out this low, right? As long as it stays within the upper half of this fair value gap. So anyways, I'm just going to go ahead and use my time stop, get out here for my last contract. We'll see what the rest of the day is. We'll see what the rest of the day did, but I think I am going to be pretty much done for the day, maybe even for the rest of the week, because I don't really want to trade Thursday and Friday on the non-farm payroll week. So here's the spreadsheet, guys, and this is kind of what I do whenever I, have two different prices for my entry. I will average it, and the average comes out to be 17.9, 14.8 or so. So I'm just going to round it up to 915. So that's what I use for the entry price. Two contracts at 915. That's just going to be the average. And then went ahead and used the risk here. This is my first partial, my second partial. Not quite 2 to 1, but 1.5 to 1 reward to risk. Pretty good. So that's what I'm going to do for this day. Now at the end of the day, you can see I'm pretty glad I did use my time stop, because we did retrace quite a lot. I would have gotten stopped out break even otherwise. And then we did pretty much chop around within the morning opening range before ultimately dropping down after 4 o'clock. So yeah, go ahead and move on to the next day. Thursday morning. Now I don't plan on trading today, so there's not going to be anything, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and look at the price action for the day, and I'm going to show you, like, this is kind of like another way you can backtest rather than mock testing by walking throughout the day. Just go to the end of the day time and see if there was any setup for you. So I'm going to go straight to 5 o'clock. And then I'm going to go down to the 5-minute, and we'll take a look at the day's action. So you can see we marked out the 2 liquidity points during the day. Here was the consolidation. And at 8:30, we rallied up pretty big, taking out the buy side, taking out the second level of buy side. Then we rallied back down. So seeing this, I would think that we'll come down to this inefficiency here, but there wasn't really any setup. It came back down, and by 12 o'clock, as you can see, we were bullish, but did not have any setup for us today. But now if we were trading in the afternoon session, we can see this rally up, confirmation, and we could potentially get in here, although that is like getting close to 3 o'clock. Definitely, don't really trade in the afternoon, but this is pretty much what Thursday looked like. I like how price went to the middle of that daily fair value gap, and we can see a huge reaction. Now we are leaving that fair value gap. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing for Friday. Not going to trade today, but you can see that Thursday we did rally up to take out the buy side here and those relative highs around 9 o'clock that day as well. Friday we've opened up, took out the buy side here, then we dropped down back into, we've totally went down below this BISI. And currently we are in this Civi right here, so I can expect some more retracement. I would think we'll maybe coming back into this inefficiency here to rebalance it some more. Definitely going to take out this low, but yeah, I'm going to do the same thing. Go to the end of the day and look at the price action intraday. Here we have Friday end of day, and as you can see, after that big drop around 5 o'clock, we've rebalanced the middle of it, but we didn't go any lower. We started going up, consolidation. A pretty sloppy action in the morning in the opening range. 10 o'clock we rallied back up, went back into probably 50% of this wick, and then for the rest of the day we pretty much just steadily grinded up into, guess what, that projection level we had on the daily chart. Going back to daily, you can see where we have that projection. So remember this line right here, the -1 standard deviation, that was from this low to this high. Then for this projection here at the 50%, or the 0.5 standard deviation, -0.5, was from this low to this low. This was when it took out the sell side liquidity. So price went up, hit both of this projection level. Now I'm not exactly sure what to do going into next week, But don't worry, that is next week's problem. Thank you for joining me once again for another backtesting session. Come back next time. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe, and until I see you next time, safe trading.